I feel like I should somehow put him.
Look at you.
Oh, very nice. Look at that little guy.
I feel like a moron with no toys whatsoever.
My
I mean,
little Hellboy is up there.
I could also bring Uncle Iroh to this party if you want to talk toys.
Oh, nice. I also have my Loot Crate right hand of doom.
Nice.
Little piggy bank over there. And a tiny little Hellboy 2 figure. You know those little like mini guys there. Yeah, well that's the thing. Like look, Joey, we know that you're a geek like in here, but we have been geeks for a lot longer and we
Can't
have
wait to the
much more,
party.
outward expression, as you can tell from behind me and Perna here.
It's called, we grew up and now we can get all the things that we couldn't afford when we were children.
It's true.
I mean, to be fair, I can't afford them now. I
Same,
just get
brother,
them
same.
anyway.
I was just suppressed as a child, and so if you want to hear all about the lineup of the Newsboys from the 1986 lineup onward until it got bad, I'm your guy.
Until it got bad.
Now they're in the news for other reasons.
For other reasons, yeah. We don't want to talk
They
about
are
the other reasons.
different kind of newsboys.
Oh, we are starting up.
Welcome, boys and girls, to yet another fantastic episode of the Sanctum Sanctorum Podcast, where comics and Christ culture collide. I'm one of your hosts, Joey.
And I am your magnanimous host, Chris.
Whatever. We also have a special guest host on with us, the one, the only, Mike Perna.
Dear Lord, I hope there's only one.
Can you imagine there being like, they say everybody in the world has a doppelganger?
Your wife will not stand for this.
No, nobody should.
Mike, we are so happy that you're on. Mike is a huge fan of the show. He's been an inspiration, a support, and a colleague, a fast friend in a time of need. And so, Mike, for those of our listeners who have no idea who you are, give us a little bit of an introduction, what you're up to, where people can find you. Tell us about what you got going on.
The very first thing I'm going to point out is the fact that the reason this podcast is called Sanctum Sanctorum is because Joey and I were sitting in church and y'all were talking about the fact that this was happening. And I said, you do know that Doctor Strange's headquarters is called the Sanctum Sanctorum, and that downright sounds fantastic for a name. And here we are.
And here we are. We have to thank Mike.
What started it all?
So I am Mike Perna. I'm the president of Inroads Ministries. We recently, as a ministry, celebrated 10 years of being a registered 501c3.
Booyah.
Congratulations.
We work
No
with...
small feat.
Yeah, exactly. The elevator pitch for what we do is that we work with church and libraries and community organizations, and we help them to reach their communities, build those relationships, create common history between people in their places through board games and tabletop role-playing games. One of our crowning achievements is the fact that for a number of years now, we have served as the people who provide the board game library for GaryCon, which is the convention put on by the Gygax family. If your nerddom only is in comics and you don't have the gaming roots, I will tell you that if you've ever even heard of Dungeons and Dragons, you can thank Gary Gygax for that. And his family, for a long time now, has put together this convention kind of to gather up the people who made D&D and really has spawned role-playing games in general. And yeah, we get to help them play board games, and it's fantastic. We have such a good time doing it. I sadly have never been to it, but I send a team up there every year, and it's such a good time. As far as the content I make, both of my podcasts have been kind of in hiatus lately because, as we were pointing out before you officially started the episode, life has just been lifing all over the place.
Tends to do that.
It really does. So...
Yeah.
I will say that the one that is less hiatus, because I'm literally hoping to edit and post this before this goes live to the rest of the world, is my devotional podcast called The Barden Bible, which is the weirdest, unique thing on the internet. And I know that's saying something because the internet is a wild place. But I tell you that I can't think of another single Christian devotional podcast that starts off with a brief story in a fictional land told by the innkeeper who happens to be a dwarf bard. I don't think there's any other one out there doing that.
Nope. We've looked.
I would not think so.
Yeah, but I've been doing that one for quite a while. That one has, gosh, it's something like 70 episodes up on that. Hopefully I'll be getting up 71 soon or whatever. I've lost track of what I'm at on that one. And then the other one, our flagship, is Game Store Profits. That's the one that started everything. I started doing that one roughly about 15 years ago. And we have literally like 260 something hours of content on that episode. If you want to check that one out, it is all still available. And Lord willing, that one gets back on the air again soon, because I absolutely love doing it. We basically talk about games and how they relate to faith, whether directly or indirectly. And it's just been an amazing time putting that together with a host of different kind of guest hosts that I've had on that one.
Mm. You know, it's fun. It's funny that you bring up the Barden Bible. If anyone listening like me in the last maybe two or so years, I've discovered a deep love for a genre of book called cozy fantasies.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you know, books, if you
What?
look into them, so it's I love the tagline for cozy fantasies is basically high fantasy, low stakes. And it's books like Legends and Lattes, Sword and Thistle, the bartender between worlds. And it's basically just these stories of orcs, elves, dwarves, wizards, mages, you know, all the characters and creatures you would find in, you know, Lord of the Rings and, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's them opening up a bookstore and meeting their new neighbors and inventing the idea of a coffee shop and having maybe these small little adventures, but it's about found family, sometimes slow burn romance. And it's these just wonderful stories set in a world that I love, but it's so feel good and relaxing to read. And that's the kind of vibe you get from the Barden Bible. It's this like cozy fantasy with a little bit of Jesus thrown in there.
I will say that the best way I've had to describe those style of books, I've only read a couple of them myself because books are expensive. But the ones I've read, I generally explain it to people like, what happens if you have the Lord of the Rings, but nobody ever leaves the Shire, and it basically takes place kind of in the Prancing Pony, like the whole thing, like the whole
that's
story.
Fantastic.
I actually started reading another one today called The Halfling Harvest, which is essentially like what the hobbits that weren't the four main hobbits in the Lord of the Rings, it's them setting up for a garden festival in the fall. So it's like what was happening in the Shire while the Fellowship was out doing the One Ring stuff.
And I'm sure
And
it's
just
glorious.
it's so relaxing. It's so relaxing. It's very enjoyable. So
That's amazing.
I fully recommend looking up cozy fantasies, and if you want a little bit of Jesus thrown in that world, definitely check out the Barden Bible.
Oh, I'll give you all the heads up, because even if I do, Lord willing, do the edit and posting that I want to, it'll show up on my Patreon first, and then it'll probably be another week before it shows up on the airwaves. So if y'all get this out ahead of time, I'll give you all the sneak peek. The setting for the Barden Bible, I totally stole from literally everything from mythology to storytelling. And for a while there, I'd just been calling the land the Nine Realms, which can also have a lot to do with, it has that comic crossover with the Asgardians. I have the Nine Realms, but I've only ever, up until this episode, only ever mentioned 8 of them.
Ooh. So we got to find out what the
And
ninth realm is.
This episode reveals the Ninth Kingdom.
That ninth realm is Houston?
You heard it
like
here first, folks. Or if if this doesn't come out until later because Joey gets lazy, you heard it here second.
You heard it here second, and that's perfectly
And
fine.
either way,
I'd like to point out that we are ahead of schedule, that we have never missed an episode release
that's
date.
true. That's
and
true.
that's all your fault. Because I fear your wrath if I miss an episode.
And, well, to perfectly be honest, I'm usually the reason that we almost miss episodes because I have a different kind of schedule than Joey does. So it's usually my fault.
I'd also like to point out, because it will happen by the time we listen to this episode, Sanctum just turned 1 year.
Look at you guys.
Yes, it's a birthday.
We need a cupcake or something. But we just hit 1 year of Sanctuming. So thank you for your listens, your streams, your likes, your nasty comments, some of you. But they're always directed at Chris, never directed at me. And I don't know why. I don't pay these people.
I was talking with somebody at work about this, that it was a sin where, like, sometimes I'll walk into a situation and I'll walk into the end of, like, two other people having some kind of heated thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ask a simple question, unrelated, and get yelled at. And it's like, I wasn't even here. I don't know what is happening. It's like, well, they had a fight on the van. I wasn't on the van. I just needed to know where lunch was.
Well, with all of that in mind, I have a plot synopsis for the movie that we're covering today, which is 2007's
Yes.
Hellboy, Blood and Iron.
Another animated feature featuring easily one of the best characters in comic bookdom.
Literally the other day I said that he is one of my favorite characters in all of fictional storytelling. So
many layers. If you're not familiar with Hellboy, you're in for a treat. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good review. But I got a synopsis, and I'm pretty proud of it. You ready for this?
Absolutely.
Hit it up.
Cue the hellish music. Here we go. In a world where vampires don't just sparkle, they exfoliate in peasant blood, one professor with tweed and trauma must face Elizabeth, the budget Bed Bath & Beyond beauty who just won't stay dead. Fast forward a few decades to the Hamptons. Billionaire Oliver Trumbull buys a haunted mansion because Six Flags Fright Fest was closed that year. Enter the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense Dream Team. You have Pyro Girl, Fishman, Rookie with a metal detector, and our favorite Hellboy, a demonic Red Hulk who fights ghosts instead of Avengers. Cue the ghosts, werewolves, harpies, and an elderly professor who spikes blood like it's a frat party gone holy. Elizabeth makes her comeback tour. Some name I can't say, upgrades to a medieval transformer. And Hellboy once again has to explain why Team Sunlight beats Team Snakes. If you're into haunted mansions, vampire bath bombs, and billionaires making really bad estate choices, then this is the cartoon for you. It's just another Tuesday for Hellboy and the BPRD in Hellboy, Blood and Iron, because apparently punching Nazis in the first movie wasn't enough. Dun dun dun!
Hecate is the name that you couldn't pronounce.
Thank you. They didn't say it often enough, and I kept missing it. And I'm like, how do you say it?
Listen. It is not pronounced. I have never heard it pronounced Hecate until this. I have always pronounced it Hecate because it's like calling Persephone Persephone.
Right. I
mean,
mean,
the Hecate?
To be proper, yes, that's what the name is, but they never say it that way.
Which I don't understand. You didn't do your research. You didn't know that it's pronounced Hecate. Like you didn't think saying the dialogue when you said Hecate that sounded a little weird.
Nobody in the script was like, "Oh, by the way,
Chris, I'm going to point this out. I think you're taking this a little too seriously. You are talking now. Granted,
said no one ever.
We're talking about a series that, one, I don't want to say that it's not faithful to the comic book. That's actually part of the point. You're talking about a series that has contained the words, "That monkey has a gun."
okay, to be fair, Deadpool has also had something similar in his Daniel Way run. So
Again, none of this is to say things are bad. I am perfectly happy with That Monkey Has a Gun. I have looked up that clip of the comic book multiple times. But that doesn't change.
We'll post it right here.
It doesn't change the fact, though, that that's the kind of thing we're talking about. And you want to say they're not going to go through the research to be accurate to the proper pronunciation of a
they didn't say the
creature?
goddess's name right. I'm annoyed.
It's an inconsistency because they took the time to say
Erzabet, yeah.
But not Hecate.
I wonder what else is on your bad list, which we'll get to. But who's in this movie, Chris?
Well, this carries over from the 2004 phenomenal adaptation of the Hellboy character in comics. And so all of those actors come back and do the voices, and they include Ron Perlman, John Hurt, Doug Jones, and Selma Blair. And it is directed by Victor Cook, who, if you don't know who that is, has directed multiple episodes of random cartoons and several direct-to-DVD Scooby-Doo movies. So There you go.
Point of order. One of those isn't a carryover.
Well, yes.
Technically he is.
That's true.
Technically he is. Abe Sapien, our beloved Fishman, while his body was Doug Jones, in the original movies, his voice was, what's his name? David Hyde Pierce or whatever his name is.
David Hyde Pierce. Well, only in the first one, in the Golden Army, Doug Jones does it.
That's true. He did come back into with it.
Yeah, Pierce only did the first movie. Doug Jones just does a great impression of him for the sequel.
Which came first, this animated or the sequel?
These came in between the two live action, the original two live action movies.
And I will say, for all the nerds out there who love monster movies and all this stuff, Doug Jones, super interesting individual just as himself. I've never seen a man interviewed and heard his life story and all that stuff where you have a man whose entire life is dedicated to playing monsters. And yet you'll go on like his Instagram and he's quoting scripture and he's dropping prayers and all this stuff. Doug Jones is a truly fantastic individual. And I love the fact that you can have one man who in one regard is talking all about his faith, who's absolutely just spouting all this wonderful gospel message. And then is also one of the things he's famous for is playing a zombie who curses like a sailor. And it makes me so happy that this man lives.
He's doing it up.
He's a great guy. You know, what was your first Doug Jones experience? Like, what was the first thing you remember seeing him in? Because I know what my first thing was.
Ooh.
It probably was the Doctor Who episodes where he was one of the villains in Doctor Who. It's hard to say because, like, half of these things I've experienced Doug Jones playing, I didn't realize it was Doug Jones at the time. Because again, for those of you playing the home game, this man is often, like, to say that he sits...
heavily make-upped.
Yeah, makeup, prosthetics, like... It's really easy for you to have not understood that what you just watched was Doug Jones, because this man, when I say he plays monsters, I'm not saying like he gets a little bit of a face prosthesis or maybe some fake teeth. I'm talking hours and hours of stuff that changes this man into, like, the best one I could point out. Like, he was the fish man in what's the movie? Shape of Water. Yep. He was the fawn in Pan's Labyrinth. He was multiple things in Pan's Labyrinth.
Wasn't he also the
eyeball guy? Yeah,
in Pan's Labyrinth.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was in, and I'm just looking it up now. He was even in Batman Returns.
Yes.
He's a thin clown.
Yep.
But to your point, Mike, I wouldn't know that. I think the only time I would realize, oh, it's Doug Jones, was Shape of Water.
Right.
Because the actor was so connected to the character.
In the early stages of his career, he was the definition of a character actor. Nobody knew that man's name.
And I only ever saw him without makeup in one movie, and that was 1999's Mystery Men, where when they are hosting the superhero tryouts, he is Pencilhead with his son, the son of Pencilhead. They erased crime. And that was the only time I've ever seen him without tons and tons of makeup, costume, prosthetics, and all that kinds of stuff.
Oddly enough, one of the few things I've seen him without makeup in is a Christian short film.
Oh,
Ooh.
He
Left
plays
Behind.
a performer in a circus sideshow.
Ooh, nice.
that sounds good.
Well, there's some good stuff in this film, in this animated feature. And
There is.
we're going to give our guest first crack. So, Mike, what'd you like about this movie?
It's hard for me to say that I liked it about this movie, but just as somebody who has been holding on to such hurt for so long, it was just good to sit down and hear Ron Perlman's voice as Hellboy again.
Mm.
And not David Harbour?
And look, I am not the sort that would attack David Harbour for that movie. That movie was some serious issues before that man ever donned the red, as it were.
Yeah.
That movie did hurt me though,
Doomed to
because that movie hurt me because I'm a big fan of The Wild Hunt, which is the arc that they made that movie out of. And I don't know how they went from The Wild Hunt to that movie, but they did. And I'm just upset about it still.
Somebody did something.
One of the reasons like I have such strong praise for Hellboy, because whenever I say that he's one of my favorite characters of storytelling, people are like, he's so goofy though. Like, I mean, he's just is absolutely goofy dude. And the reason I love him so much is because he is a walking, talking, breathing redemption story to me. And this shows up as like, it is a very short film, as just what is it, like an hour and change.
Yeah, it's 75 minutes, including credits.
Right. So there's part of me that wants more of that, but even in that shorter time span, there were a number of moments that kind of harkened back to this idea that Hellboy wasn't supposed to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
He was written off. Oh. He was supposed to be this force of destruction. He was supposed to be a tool of hell that was supposed to bring about the destruction of everything. And yet the love and the attention of Dr. Broom, like, that's how he became something else. He became a hero. And there was a moment, and I'm still going to call her Hecate because that's how they call her in this movie.
How dare you?
I'm going to do it and you can deal with it.
What the heck?
There was just the first time she shows up on screen. And it's literally like, what are you doing here? Why are you here among these lesser mortals? And there's this one part where she just goes, you should accept who you are. And Hellboy, and I love the goofiness of this. Hellboy looks at her and goes, nah, I'm good.
Nah, I'm good.
And that, I'm like, that right there is such the encapsulation of this profound thought in this goofy, lovable moment.
Yep.
And that right there is so much Hellboy. Like, all the stuff from the
nonchalance and...
Yeah, it's this deep, profound thing with this goofy, just silly dialogue. And it made me so happy to hear that moment. Like, nah, I'm good. And the other line that was in the same scene was basically, I was going to cut you some slack because you're a major mythological figure, but I just love that.
Pissed me off.
I loved every minute of that dialogue because it's really easy to play Hellboy stupid.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because you can easily just take the goofiness, the satire, and the thing that makes him the character and go full on Deadpool with it.
Right.
And just do whatever you want, say whatever you want, consequences not important, and then you lose the reverence of the character because this, as we're probably going to get to much later, this is a holy character.
Oh yeah.
And I don't say that in a blasphemous way. I say that in the same way that Nightcrawler is a holy character, that faith plays heavily into who this character is. And so to have enough satire in there where you're balancing it is incredibly important. And I felt like they did that really well.
There was actually another line. There was a line from Broom as he's talking to the priest. And he just says, it's not the cross that has the power. It's the faith of the person that holds it.
I wrote that down too.
So did I.
And I'm like, ooh, that hits right there.
That line right there. I don't know if Mignola had anything to do with the script on this one, but that's perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That line was perfect.
I actually hit pause on that one, and where I was like, oh, that's saying something.
Because that, I mean, it had to say it, spoilers a little bit. The priest ends up being a terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that it has nothing to do, like his presumption that because he is a priest, because he is a man of the cloth, because that church is there, the evil that is the vampire and all her brood would never dare touch. She shows up to his place first.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, you see that in the flashbacks at the end where she even like admonishes him for thinking that he was protected by, you know, a wooden building and a statue made of stone or brass or whatever she says. And that was like, these things mean nothing to me. They hold no power.
Right.
And that just coincides with it's not the object, it's the faith of the person wielding the object, or, you know, believing in the object, or whatever it is.
And it wasn't lost on me that the only other person who wields any kind of holy kind of weapon of choice is Dr. Broom, who throws holy water on her not once but twice. And both times it wrecks her.
And both times from the same flask.
Yeah, and he has a couple lines about the idea that our faith is the only thing that makes this possible. Makes this battle winnable is our faith. We have to hold on to that, is a line that he had. It's at different points, both in the flashback and in the current time frame.
It's, you know, it's a shame that it's something that I think so many people would miss, because if you look at, you know, if you take Hellboy, the stories or the character just at face value, you could very easily write it off as like, especially if you're somebody who is a person of faith, like you could very easily write it off as like, oh, this is one of those like demonic comics that I don't want to have. I mean, you know, this is going to like deal with stuff that like makes me uncomfortable. And like, really, this is one of the more like spiritually grounded and faith rich stories that you could find, you know, again, like you said, not only in comics, but I think in a lot of fictional storytelling. Like they don't use, you know, it's not the same as like Lord of the Rings or Narnia, where they use a lot of metaphor and a lot of, oh, this equals this. It's like they are very straight about what Hellboy believes in regards to his faith, and what Trevor Broom believes as well.
And Joey, you brought up Nightcrawler, which you do well to do so, because he is also one of my favorite characters. And that's why,
baby, I got you.
That's why Nightcrawler for so long has been my favorite. And I'm so pissed because I've seen what they've been doing to him lately. And in more recent arcs, they have basically made he's basically just said, screw this, I no longer believe in God.
Yep. That's not
that was the foundation for that character.
And I'm just like, okay, so now you've just made him random mutant, you know, zero again. Like it takes away all the interesting parts of him.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. Not that we're on spiritual content right now, but the thing that lacks from any other character, and I'm not saying this as a pastor, I'm not saying this as a Christian, I'm saying this as a comic fan. The thing that lacks in all the other characters who lack the religious aspect is nuance. I'm not saying they don't have character development. I'm not saying they don't have interesting stories or arcs. Of course there are. Some of the greatest stories ever told are through these character development, you know, on the pages of these comics. But what Hellboy and Nightcrawler offer is nuance to the human experience, because they are not human, but we identify with them because we are also nuanced. And when you take that away, what you're basically saying is humanity can't relate to this anymore, because now there's no complexity to the character, and you shouldn't have it either. And yet that's not what we find.
Hellboy is my basis for a thing that it really does. And it plays out in this too, because what's his name? Trumbolt was totally like I want a picture with the big red demon guy. Like he played that up too. But like so much of his arc of Nightcrawler, and let's throw in other people too, like Beast, like all these. these things, like, I know you guys, this is your bread and butter, but I'm here to just double down on it. The idea that these things not only reflect faith, but they help build it. Comic books taught me to understand the idea that the good and heroes can look to some people to be monstrous and ugly. Beast, Hellboy, Nightcrawler, and that's just a few of them. There have been a number of heroic figures, and that actually is part of their arc. The idea that they get written off as monsters is part of their arc. Meanwhile, comics have also taught me that the pretty boy heroes can often be evil. Your Homelanders, your Ozymandiases, your, all these guys who look pristine and glorious and, somebody to be held up. And you find out that they are absolutely narcissistic, destructive monsters.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's exactly, what I was going to say is that, you take characters like Hellboy and Nightcrawler, and not only do they have this incredible nuance, but they, as characters who are so deeply rooted in faith and doing the right thing and finding it like a righteous path, at the same time they look exactly like what you should fear and fight as a person of faith. It's like, I mean, that looks like Satan, that looks like a demon, that is, exactly what I shouldn't be rooting for. And yet I find myself rooting for them more than many other characters, like you said, like your Homelander or Ozymandias, or, even to a degree, some of these characters like Batman or Superman, because they look the part and do despicable things, whereas these characters look like all they should do is despicable, and they walk a path that's so far removed from what these other heroes these other characters that look like heroes do.
I'm going to open up a can of worms in your comment section with this one, though I shouldn't, because comic book people should understand this. Nobody should idolize the Punisher ever.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good dude.
And yet he does. Like, even the guy who made the character is like, what the heck is wrong with you? The fact that they actually made that canon in the book where he gets pissed off because the cops are putting his symbol on their cars. He's like, what is wrong with you? Like the actual Punisher was like, what is wrong with you people? You should not be, I'm not a guy that you should look up to.
It's 100% right. It's 100. He is not a hero, and he knows he's not a hero, and is just doing what, not in defense of the character, but it's like he's doing what no one else is willing to do or can do. But he knows that he's not someone to be emulated in the way that like Captain America would be, or Iron Man, or Spider-Man, or these more heroic characters, these more awe-inspiring heroes, so he knows that. And so it's because we are taught to look at like, well, here's somebody who's doing what's right and looks the part, so therefore that's someone to emulate. Here's someone that not only doesn't look the part, but because they don't look the part, I'm not going to look into what the content of their character is, and therefore they're not worthy of being admired or followed or believed in or whatever.
Right. And like I said, this movie does a real decent job of having that nuance of Hellboy, to have the idea of this brutal looking dude who is known to just, I mean, he doesn't have a ton of dialogue in this. He is doing the punchy, shooty. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he has these lines, he has these moments, and that I think that the movie does a good job of that, even in its short runtime.
Chris, got any good stuff?
Well, I mean, that was a lot of really great stuff. On the more basic side, I love a good haunted house story, and I kind of like that this was, I don't want to say standard, but this had a little bit of everything. It had a little bit of vampire, a little bit of demon, a little bit of ghosts trapped for all time. I like that kind of stuff. I like that it started heavy. Like, you started with a big fight scene. It felt, and Mike, I know you may disagree with me because you're you've been a fan of Hellboy for a lot longer than I have. But this to me felt like a Hellboy story, only because It started with action. It was kind of this contained standalone story. You didn't need a lot of introduction into who the characters were. Like, it just assumed that, like, we know why you're here. You know who these people are, or you don't need to know who these people are. These are your good guys. These are your bad guys. And here's the story. And I liked that it kind of did that. I thought it was funny. I thought it moved quickly. And the animation style was very nostalgic for me. It made me feel kind of like the Bruce Timm animation of DC cartoons like Justice League and Batman Beyond. It looked like it kind of fit into that world pretty easily. It also felt like, if you guys remember a show called The Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It looked like it belonged in that universe too. But I really enjoyed the animation as well.
You've been pulling out some great cartoon references lately. I'm just going to give the devil his due, but Jackie Chan, you pulled out Static Shock.
Yeah, it's another great one.
I agree with you, and I felt like it was simple, it was subtle, and that was probably budgetary, but it worked.
Hey, things can be under budget and good.
It was as subtle as you can be with a giant red demon, a fishman, and a chick who lights on fire, fighting a giant snake demigod and a vampire who bathes in blood.
What did he say?
So, I mean, if that's your idea of subtle, then yes, it was incredibly subtle.
Yeah. Anything else that you liked?
I thought that the casting in the live action movies, the two Guillermo del Toro action movies, was perfect for these characters, for those movies. So the fact that they were able to bring back all the voice actors, especially, somebody like John Hurt, who's an incredibly prestigious actor, people like Selma Blair and Ron Perlman, who are, not hurting for work. You were able to use their voices in a movie that is not connected to your live action movies. Like, it has no relation to the two live action movies. So the fact that they were willing to do that and were able to do that, I think, is admirable for that.
But you're leaving two major names on the table, and I have to call them out. You've got Jim Cummings,
yes,
and you've got Rob Paulsen in this movie.
Yakko himself.
You might not know Jim Cummings by face. You know him by voice. He's basically in every Disney movie from the 90s. He has done thousands of voiceover work.
He's also the definitive voice for Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Goofy.
Yeah.
So, like, countless.
You can hear him. Like, the second you hear him, you know exactly who it is. Jim Cummings, voice acting royalty. Mm-hmm. But then you got Rob Paulsen. You got Yakko himself. You've got Pinky. I mean, come on.
The only man who has voiced not one, but two Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. You have, and that's, in 2007, that's a big deal. In 2025, that's a huge deal. That you had not a low budget, but sort of this obscure animated follow-up to a pretty, I wouldn't say mediocre from a comic standpoint, but just from an acclaim standpoint, a box office standpoint. The first Hellboy didn't do great.
Well, you got to realize this was made long before comic book movies were comic book movies.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you pulled two of the biggest voice actors doing side work at the time. That's a big deal.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. So that's some great, as a very prestigious voice cast.
I knew when I wrote that down, I said to myself, Chris won't include these two names, but I'm gonna.
To get Rob Paulsen to voice Sidney Leach, a character that I was like, wait, he is in the comic book, isn't he? Like, he's that obscure.
Mm-hmm. And he's somebody else too. He's like the husband in the flashback, or he's the priest or somebody.
I'm sure. I remember hearing his voice in another character and being like, Rob, you're on this one too.
Yep. It's like, just add another 0 to the check. It's fine.
Yeah. Did you, Sir Joey, have anything to add to what we have already spewed?
I've got 3 other things that neither of you covered.
Nice.
Right.
The first is the title. I love the title because it's a reference to a speech given by Otto von Bismarck in 1862. And the speech, if you go back and read it, he was talking that Prussia would not make major decisions through speeches, but through iron and blood.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was more of this action oriented. We're gonna do things. We're not just gonna say things. And the movie really reflected that. I liked that was the title because it's also sort of spooky. It sort of connects to the lore of Hellboy, but it was also its own thing. But it's also this deep Easter egg within world history. It was cool.
Well, that's why I don't know if Mignola was in this, Mignola being the guy who created Hellboy. But even then, I know that Guillermo del Toro he had a hand in this, and I know that whether it's Mignola or del Toro who did this, both of them have this appreciation for the fact that Hellboy is deeply connected to history.
Yes.
Like we all joke about Hellboy punches Nazis, but Hellboy punches Nazis because of the fact that there was this I can't remember what the program was called, but it was basically this program of the Nazis to investigate occult activity for the process of harnessing that as war materials.
That wasn't a clever, like, oh, let's take history and then go off in left field. No, we really did that. We just made a comic book of it.
A major villain in Hellboy is Rasputin.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. So I like that. I liked that it was gruesome without seeing anything. Like, I could probably let my kids watch this.
Gruesome without being graphic.
Yeah, like, you didn't see anything, but you knew what was going on. And if you appreciate the character, you were like, okay, this is sort of kidified, but it's doing the thing at least. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like they completely circumvented the fact that there was gore and this was graphic, but you just didn't see it all. And I thought that was cool.
The best moment for that was in the flashback where the woman, Anna or something is her name. And there's like, oh man, she's been bitten. She's going to turn. We need to stake her. It cuts away.
And you hear it.
When they actually stake her. But at the same moment, a minute later, they're like, this tub is full of human blood.
Yep.
Yeah.
They just picked and chose.
Right.
Which is nice that they kind of pick and choose so that it's not a constant, like, barrage of, like, oh, here's another bloody thing. Oh, here's another, whatever.
And I don't know what it was rated, but it wasn't like, all right, we're going for the rating here.
Right.
It was like, no, this is a cartoon, so it's going to stay a cartoon. And I thought that was cool. Last thing, 4 words, Hellboy versus Werewolf Priest.
Yep. That was an epic fight.
BA, man. BA. And I knew it was coming. Like, you sort of knew, like, all right, this guy's not all that he's cracked up to be. Something's going to go down.
Yeah.
But even when it was happening, I was like, that's a payoff right there. That's setting something up and delivering for fans. Well done.
Oh, yeah, that was good stuff.
I did have a very definitive Chekhov's gun moment.
Right.
When they did the shot above the fireplace and showed those antlers. I'm like, At some point...
Come on.
Those antlers are playing a part in this fight.
Oh, we're not seeing you for no reason.
If they didn't impale anybody on them, that would have been just a humongous letdown.
Humongous. Well, that's all the good things I have. Why don't we take a break, have a word from our sponsor? No, I don't care about your others.
I have only one other. It's only one
what?
other.
I'll allow it because it's brief.
You'll allow it. I mean, we both know that I could make it not brief if you want.
Year 2 on this show, I'm gonna get a lot more strict on what I allow coming out of you, sir.
Mike, you hear this co-hosted podcast and one person clearly trying to take charge of this situation, right?
You do know that we started this with me referencing my podcasts, and I don't know if my co-host Daniel is going to listen to this, but I know for a fact that if he was here, he'd be like, "Go on, Chris," because I do that to him. I do that to him all the time.
Here's the thing, North, and I will let you say your one thing, but I can do one of 2 things. One, I can just cut this whole segment, so it doesn't matter. Or 2, you can share your others, and then at completely obscure moments, I'll throw the censor beep in there so it sounds ridiculous.
I fully support option 2, and I have zero problem with it. So
You know what? Let's do it. I
But
can't
let me
wait to
just
see how
get
this is going to turn out.
I don't have much to say about it, but it's just that another one of my favorite movies is Ghostbusters, and at least in this, Hellboy is.
Yeah, you're not
Who are you
wrong
gonna
on
call?
that.
In regard to how he feels about ghosts and monsters and demons and this like nonchalant, like I'm too old for this crap and I don't want
Yeah,
to deal with it. He is all Peter. I believe in it, but I don't
but
really
I'm
want to
over
be
it.
here and you're exhausting me. And can somebody just deal with the ghost who's pissing me off?
Get it
Yeah.
over with.
So he's Peter
That's how I
Pan.
feel with. That's how I feel with this segment.
You want to know a good line for that one, Chris? I'll cut you off here on this line. There's the moment where they're all going through. They haven't like fully discovered the ghost story and everything. And Hellboy's in the kitchen, and this knife drops into this thing and then starts spinning, and then another knife, it starts spinning, another knife, and Hellboy literally just the most exasperated tone goes, "Look, I'm not gonna hurt you unless you make me." And as soon as he says that, all the knives flop down.
They all drop.
That's
That's
exactly the attitude. Even when bad things happen to him, and he's just like, "Oh crap!" Like just like, yeah, here we go.
With that, we're going to take a break and hear a word from our sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by Demon Hunter Donuts. When your morning meeting needs a little spicing up and you need a way to keep your staff on task, before you head into work, take a stop at Demon Hunter Donuts, where we specialize in multiple flavorful treats to fit all your government budgetary needs. Try our standard flavors of chocolate, vanilla, and pumpkin, but don't forget our patented flavors like Ghost, Metal, Brimstone, and Bloodbath. With 666 convenient locations, no workday or breakfast is complete without a visit to Demon Hunter Donuts, where even the vampires know we don't suck.
Okay.
So I was giving you a Nicholson until that last line. Flawless.
Thank you.
I'll give you... Okay, so, Mike, this is where Chris messes it up. He gives, like, pluses and minuses.
No, we gotta be a purist here. What are we talking about?
Yeah, you're right. Forget your tick marks and checks. You're getting a ledger for that one. That was great.
Oh, well, thank you.
What do you rate it, Mike?
I appreciate the performance, but I gotta tell you, as a man who has a deeply, deeply felt distaste for all things puns, it was so good that I'm gonna give it the Nicholson. But it just, the puns hurt. I give it that painful laugh, which really is fitting for a Joker scale, but
Yes.
Yep. Well done, North. Those
Thank
are
you.
respectable ratings.
Thank you.
And as always, dear listener, not a real product.
No, but you know what? I would try most of the not real products that we have been sponsored by on this show. I would be interested in exploring further. If I'm being honest.
I've been using the BAMF cologne.
I saw the video you made for Bamf, and that
It stinks.
it made me feel special.
That is my favorite ad we've done of all time. I think that is your best work. That's the gold standard.
I have tried to recreate it. Like every time I do an ad, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take the elements that made it great, and I'm just like, no, you're a one-hit wonder, buddy.
Yep.
That's it.
Part was the voices that did, you went from whispering and then this seductive tone
Yeah.
and then a moderate. It was just great stuff.
Anyway, so there's some bad stuff in this movie, and
Yeah.
I don't have the affinity that you two do, so I'm gonna go first. And maybe these are on your lists. Maybe you have more than me. I don't know. But I feel like of the three of us, I probably have the most.
Probably.
All right. So while I appreciated the fact that you didn't see everything, it wasn't as graphic as it could be, I felt like there wasn't enough. I felt like, like even in the comic book, you see a lot more.
Mhm.
And this was like Nickelodeon for 4:00 on a Tuesday. It was so sanitized that I was like, all right, I'm glad you've got the special effects and you've got the sound editing. But if you didn't have that, there is nothing different about this than Bluey. That's me. You want to say something?
I just
You can't disagree.
it's very different than Bluey.
Oh, that's where you want to dive in?
It just
To be fair, I have never seen a Bluey episode in my life.
Oh, my
well-
friend, we need to talk.
you need to fix your life, bro. I watch Bluey without Landon. It's my comfort show.
You're talking to the guy who has a chapter in his friend's book, his published book about Bandit Healer. So
I have no idea what those words mean.
Listen,
you should.
the dad, if you ever want to feel like you're doing a crappy job as a father, watch a couple episodes of Bluey and watch the dad on that show. And then
You both
try
are
to
really
measure
selling
up.
this for me.
Try to measure up to what a blue cartoon Australian dog does for his kids versus what you do. Yeah. I'll tell you already, you're dropping the ball because you're not Bandit Healer.
I'm sure I am. But speaking of measuring up, I thought the professor's revenge was petty. Like, from a story perspective, the man waited 60 years to say, I told you so?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Flashbacks were cool, but the intro made it a little hard to track.
Mm.
I had to then sort of go back and remember, because like when you do flashbacks in a live action movie, there's a whole different version of cinematography that you have as an element to relocate you as an audience member. Either it's in sepia tone or it's in black and white, or there's visual cues that were in the past. When you do that in a cartoon, you have to be very specific. And other than maybe a color hue or two, there wasn't enough to denote that this was a flashback. And so it made it a little jumpy for me. By 15, 20 minutes in, I started catching on, but it wasn't clear at the onset.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah, that's right, you will. There was too much talking and not enough smashing. Like you said, Mike, like Hellboy's at his best when he's wrecking stuff, not expositioning stuff. And I felt like him in particular, he was a lot of info dumping. To quote you, Chris, I mean, it's fine to be wrong.
I'm glad you can admit that for yourself. But
That's right.
I don't know. I'll save it for my comments.
All right. I only have two more things. The senator subplot, that is pure filler, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the BPRD budget meeting. Nobody cares.
To be fair,
that's because they
that
didn't have
character-
Demon Hunter donuts.
To be fair, the character of they don't really mention his name much at all in this, so we're not going to dive into the comic books of who that guy is. But the whole we're doing this as a favor to the senator for the budget thing, that guy has always been filler and backdrop. Like his whole deal is just the idea of we just need to ground this stuff in some level of real worldiness.
It's the Wilhelm scream. It just shows up.
Right. He is the guy who basically says, oh, yeah, this is an agency of the government. Like, you have to have the government stooge.
If you watch the live action movies, this is Jeffrey Tambor's character.
Gotcha.
Where like he's the one who has to clean up the messes and scrub all the media that's now floating around and work on things like the budget and training and all that kind of stuff.
Understood. Last thing I got, the sunlight ending was classic and predictable.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to stop.
Called that a mile away.
Yeah.
It's like, if you just go outside, all your problems will disappear.
Right.
That's what I say to my kids 98% of the time. When they're
Well, that
melting
also
down.
means
Just
that 4 of
go
your
outside.
problems will disappear.
That's only if they're vampires.
Yeah, but I mean, for a short time, I was one of my mom's problems that disappeared for a while.
Just go outside. Maybe the sunlight will take care of it. But that's all I have. Not exhaustive, but there was enough to where I started writing down. I thought I was going to do it off the top of my head. What do you got, Mike?
Okay, so it was already kind of brought up. The runtime. I appreciate that animation takes time and budget and the ability to have this powerful voice cast and animate everything on this. It probably could have had a bigger budget than they were willing to give it. This definitely has, okay, we're going to whip together some animated stuff because we don't want to put together a full movie. And it showed in parts.
Yeah.
Like, the moment that we talk about the flashbacks, the two cops in the flashback, I can't say their names because they're never uttered out loud.
That's right.
The minute they showed up, I'm like, oh, these are our red shirts. I'm like, these guys are literally just there to have somebody for Elizabeth to eat. This is literally their whole point in this show.
You're chicken food.
Yeah. And I'm like, and a longer runtime would give you a little bit of, because they do drop stuff. Like, they do say, like, yeah, this place knows vampires. They've been hunting vampires for generations. Like, Broom mentions, he goes, there's going to be, some help with some experienced constabulary in the town. Like, we're supposed to think that these guys hunting vampires is just a Tuesday. I don't know their name, and they are literally vampire food within seconds of them discovering the actual vampire home.
For two people who are meant to keep their town safe and are presumably well versed in how to deal with the vampire problem that they've had for many, many years, they get disposed and dispatched of pretty quickly and easily and stupidly.
And there was the one. Again, this is why I think that if they had a longer runtime, like the idea of the one that is like the grizzled veteran and the one that's kind of still wet behind his ears, like you could feel that vibe they were going for, because the one guy was definitely more talky. He was more like squeamish. Like he looked away when they staked her. Like, and I get that. That could have been great. I would have loved to have seen a fight scene where the guy who does have that grizzled veteran vibe kind of had a battle moment, but still died. But no, he was the first one to get taken out. He got yoinked up to the ceiling and sucked dry just off screen.
He did get yoinked.
He got literally yoinked. There was
He got yeeted.
Yeah. I literally rewound the movie. I rewound the movie because I thought I missed something. That's how quickly he got yoinked up to the screen, up to the ceiling.
I love that word. Never stop saying it.
I will say it repeatedly.
Yoink.
Is the most appropriate sound effect for what happened.
And I'll find one too.
So yeah, I do think this movie would have benefited from a longer runtime, from the ability to, like, to be able to put more meat on those bones to, keep with the dude got eaten vibe.
Clever.
Yeah, like I wish I could have seen more of that, more development from these characters, because again, Hellboy has always felt like it did. I mean, yeah, I just got done saying that the corporate stooge, the government stooge, has always been there to ground it in reality. But Hellboy always feels like it's there's a place, like legends and folktale and the history of this place. And they had this cool concept of these constables have been hunting vampires since way back. They had that cool idea and just left it on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But not that way back.
Right.
Not way back enough for them to be prepared for it to happen.
Right.
Yep.
So that upset me. It fully comes down to budget, I'm sure, but I would have loved to see more of that. The other one, and Chris kind of alluded to this as a positive. I'm here to bring it down as a negative.
Nice.
Not because I thought it was negative, but I'm coming at it from a presentation as a film negative. For me personally, it was fine. I was totally cool with it, but I'm also thinking of the larger audience.
Okay.
You needed to know Hellboy for some of the comments, for some of the moments, and for some of the characters. Again,
Agreed.
I cite the fact that Sidney Leach is on this trip. And I'm a pretty proficient Hellboy fan, and even I had to look up the fact is Sidney an actual character in the book? Or what his
Too
power
many deep
was.
dives.
But the reason that I don't think you need it is because I think that the people that are going to find this direct to video animated feature are going to be the people that are already well versed, and maybe you or I as a well versed person may show it to the layman who can then be like, here's like the reference books you need, and here's
I'm the layman.
what you
Right.
should read to get prepared. But I don't think there's as much of a wider audience for this as you
Right, and-
are implying for it.
And I fully back the fact that this is me putting out my negative. It was a choice that they made this. The one line, and I think it does also harken back to my thing. Like, I would have loved to see more movie in this movie. The one line that really got me, that kind of was the epitome of this to me, was when Liz was getting assaulted by the dogs, and she went full fire. Like, literally scorched earth these dogs. And here comes Abe running in, being like, Liz, no. And her line, I literally wrote down this line, this time I'm okay.
Oh, are you?
It's such a throwaway line if you don't know what that character has been through in the timeline.
Yeah.
And again, for me, I come in this knowing that arc, knowing the fact that she only recently became a field agent because she literally could not control her fire. Like, the damage that she's done to herself and others because she could not control that. The reason that Hellboy is close to her because he's the only one who could withstand that fire. The fact that she could at any point go literal thermonuclear and destroy all of them. And that's why Abe's scared.
But you don't know that. if you
Nobody
don't have
knows that
history.
unless you also have read these books. And again, it is a decision to kind of like make that an Easter egg. I would just have rather seen, and I don't need full exposition on this. There's multiple arcs of the comic book that played that out. But I would have loved to have seen more than just a throwaway line of this time I'm okay. I would have loved to have seen, so, even if it's just a small bit of dialogue between Abe and Liz in that moment, just something to hearken to the why Abe was so scared, because the dogs were all roasted at that point.
Right.
In the moment of the story, there was no danger. So why is Abe still freaking out? I know why. But the movie doesn't give anything as to why he's still freaking out.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I just, maybe it's because I know.
Right. I completely throw that in as I would like more people to understand how cool these characters are. And I would have liked to see some hint of that in this movie. But again, I understand why not, because of the runtime.
Right.
But again, I just complained about the runtime makes it not a long enough movie. I also had a thing about, light destroys everything. Okay. Like, I have a great...
It's been done.
Metaphorically, I have a great appreciation for that. But I mean, come on, guys. Like, I would have liked to see something else in that moment.
It just, and it's not that, you've got the good versus evil. You've got vampire versus light. Like, it's a trope, and I get it, but it's like you took zero effort in the direction of creativity.
Right.
Like, there was no other option but to just go with Old Faithful. That's why it bothered me. It's not like you were telling a tried and true comic line here. You just needed to end the film. And so you turned on the lights and opened the windows.
And one last thing that for me is just a continuity issue. Like, I love the fact that, and I'm going to say it one more time just to mess with Chris, Hecate,
Hecate
literally embodied the Iron Maiden that the vampire used. I love that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, at some point she stops being metal.
She does.
In the fight, she randomly stops being metal.
Because the plot needs her
Because
to.
she needs to get stabbed is why.
That's it.
We need to have the moment where Abe jumps at her with a spear and stabs her. So she can't be metal in this instance because otherwise Abe couldn't stab her.
And why? Because.
Yeah. It's OMG mythology.
Right.
Science.
And there's part of me that's like, okay, like maybe it was just that moment that she was doing the embodiment of metal thing, and maybe that's past. But then after she's destroyed, what happens?
She says, "Hold my beer."
She goes back to being the Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
So we didn't drop the fact that she picked up the Iron Maiden and became that. That's still very much her, but she stops being metal for plot reasons. And not even for plot reasons, for fight choreography spotlight reasons.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, that's fair. That's all fair stuff.
Boo that man. Chris.
I mean, you guys have covered almost everything I had. I thought the flashback, there was too much of the flashback, but I also didn't like that it ran backwards.
Yeah.
Like, and if that was the only bit of flashback that, like, okay, Professor Broom has a history with this monster, okay, then that would have been fine. But each time they went back, it was the chapter before that, and then the chapter before that, and it would have worked better for me if you just ran the whole flashback from beginning to end and then started the present day. It just, I didn't think it was needed. I didn't think it was necessary. Erzsébet was defeated pretty easily both times. I feel like, I know she wasn't like she was a secondary boss character, but I feel like for being this legendary demonic vampiress, scourge of the earth, like they took care of her not only pretty easily, but they tricked her in the same way both times, or close to it. So
yeah, I saw that and I was like, what the Hecate?
How long have you been having that one in the chamber, Joey?
Yeah, about 3 minutes. Long enough to execute it well.
Yes, well being the operative word. Does anybody else remember the weird instrumental sequence that they have of like when Broom is being carried away by the harpies and Hellboy was
floating
possibly
down the laser
drowned
river.
and Liz is unconscious, and it's this weird instrumental, like there's no sound effect, it's these weird flashes. It's like if anybody in the audience remembers when we talked about the Batman versus Dracula, and we talked about not liking that weird scene when he's fighting the vampires and it's like this clip scene instead of showing him actually throwing the punch. That's what it felt like. It was like these weird clips of like, here's all our good guys are all in these dire moments. What's going to happen? But like that became more distracting than emotionally relevant at that point.
They went to Broom like barely opening his eyes like 3 times.
Yeah, it wasn't. So that was a weird.
It doesn't serve anything.
That was a weird directing and writing choice. My last thing is, now I say this in my negative because it's supposed to be a Hellboy story, but I don't feel negatively about this idea. It feels very Scooby-Doo.
Yes. And I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for that meddling demon.
I was getting, very serious, the Witch's Ghost, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost vibes with, here's this rich dude who buys this supposedly haunted house and he calls in the team that's known for dealing with it to deal with it. And so it just
they
felt
rip
like
the mask off and they say, Mr. Robinson.
It felt like a little old man Withers. It felt a little like an adult Scooby-Doo. So that,
but that can't be.
I love Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was one of the introductions for me for horror and mystery storytelling. So I have a deep love for Scooby-Doo, but I didn't need it with my Hellboy. So
nope.
That's it. But that's it for me. You
I
guys
love
kind
it.
of covered anything else I might have had in my
I love it.
stoof.
As we say towards the end of all episodes, got any spiritual stuff? This one's ripe with them.
I mean, I already started.
Keep it going, Mike. You're up first.
The first like 15 minutes was everybody. It was everybody's spiritual stuff right at the top.
I will add
Absolutely.
to it though. There's a couple things that I didn't quite want to put into my positives, but I also definitely I wrote it down. I really like I know that we just got done talking about how Elizabeth is totally like that B grade villain in this. But as a spiritual aspect, I love the fact that they take out the monster that brought them there, but they're not done. Because the monster is destroyed, but the goddess that empowered that monster is still there.
That's good.
Hellboy
Keep
has
going.
to take out the goddess that is empowering the vampire. The vampire was strong. The vampire was bad. The vampire needed dealing with. But without, and I'm going to say it one more time, Hecate, there is no vampire.
Chris is done.
Now I'm just doing it because I'm getting the reaction. Before I was just
Do
doing
the rest
movie.
without me.
Now you understand why I love this show so much. It's not about Jesus and comic books. It's about pissing Chris off.
Yeah, at the beginning it was just because that's how the movie chooses to say it. Now I'm just doing it for funsies.
Chris, like I tell my children,
These.
if you don't give them the reaction, they won't keep bothering you.
It's true.
If I don't give you the reaction, they won't keep watching.
That's also true.
That's-
But
Our ratings are contingent on whether or not I bother you.
Yes.
I love it. Keep going, Mike.
But I liked that idea. I liked that idea that there was more. There was a deeper thing going on that needed addressing because it wasn't just about destroying the monster. You got to destroy the thing that empowers that monster to be monstrous.
Well, and the thing that comes to mind when you say that is like everybody loves telling the story of David and Goliath, and it's like, all right, David knocks out Goliath. If you keep reading in 1 Samuel, he keeps fighting the Philistines for a long time.
Right.
Because one giant is not the whole story. It's not the whole gamut of evil. He's constantly going to battle with the Philistines. And we kind of think like, oh, I defeated that issue or I dealt with that battle and I'm good now. And when you've got that mentality, when the next one comes up, it's like, I'm not prepared for it. Yeah, because you didn't think this was a war. You thought it was a battle.
Yep.
And that point perfectly illustrates that.
And I had one more that hasn't been brought up yet because this moment, at first it just made me giggle, but then I had this immediate like profound moment with it. We haven't mentioned them at this point, but the Harpy sisters who are bringing this whole thing back.
There's something.
The Harpy sisters who try to bring back Elizabeth because Elizabeth is the priestess of Hecate.
One more.
I
I want all
absolutely
those
love the
bleeps
fact
to be
that
every time somebody says that name wrong.
Hecate, yeah.
I'll give you one of them.
But there's the moment where the two of them reveal, like yes, goddess, you're here. Yes, I'm so, bring about the power. And then she literally just whacks the harpy with her tail, and she's out.
Yep.
Done.
And at first, I'm like, and this is a moment where Hellboy had the stupid, sarcastic, the silly moment that did not take away from the profound moment. These two were trying to bring about this new age where this goddess was offering them power and literally minutes before that, she's like they offer me sacrifices and that's why I offer them this thing. I'm not actually going to give it to them. Whacks the sucker with a tail, takes her out, and then the other harpy is just like, sister? And it's just this profound moment of empty promises. From this goddess who did not actually care about them, was literally just using them because they offered up the old rituals.
But wrapped in a fun little package.
But wrapped up in this moment where this harpy just gets slammed, and then just her sister's like left with, what?
Oh,
There
that didn't
were
work.
There were two of us here, right?
Right. But it's just that idea that, you know, people will turn to things other than God for all these promises of success or power or safety or all these things. And it's just empty. It doesn't actually provide any of that.
That's good stuff, man. For me, it was, you know, we talked a little bit about it, but it was, I was just really impacted by that line that's where they say, you know, vampires can't stand the sight of a cross. And then Broom says to the priest, you know, actually, it's the faith of the person holding it that gives it power. So it's not it's not a cross that burns vampires and that repels them. It's, you know, the faith of the person wielding it that really allows it to become a weapon and allows it to become protection. And what I was reminded of was in Matthew 9:20, the woman that touches the garment of Jesus. And it so perfectly connects with that. You know, this woman who has been plagued with this disease for, you know, almost her whole life, you know, thinks to herself, you know, if I can just, I don't need to bother him. If I can just touch the bottom of his robe, if I can just touch his shirt, I know that that's enough. Like, I'll feel enough of his power that it will heal me. And, you know, Jesus feels somebody touching. Is like, you know, who, you know, somebody touched me, come forward and says to her, you know, it's your faith that has healed you. So it wasn't touching Jesus. It wasn't touching the bottom of his cloak or the bottom of his robe. It was the amount of faith that she had, knowing that that would have been enough to get that would have been enough of the power that Jesus had to heal her. And that just, to me, it's, you know, it's not about the acts, it's not about the symbol, it's not even about the person. It's about the faith that is behind it and the faith that is put into it that really gives those things power for good and bad. But in this case, it was something that, you know, this priest had to protect him, and that Broom had to protect him, and that, you know, in scripture that this woman had, which gave her this healing that she looked for when all she had was faith and a brief, you know, fleeting touch of something that everybody else was wearing. And it was the faith that mattered. And that was just something that really sat with me immediately, like as soon as that part of the movie came up. So that was what really kind of sat with me.
I like it. Mine was very different from both of yours.
Good.
Actually, that's not true. It's close to Mike's, but it's a step to the left. There's a line where Hecate, how do you say it?
I hate you, and it's Hecate.
That's even worse because it's close. It's worse because it's close.
It's close to both. It's terrible.
And the fact that you do this during your spiritual content is offensive and abrasive.
Look, humor is spiritual.
No,
and
it's
that's
not.
a whole episode by itself.
Nothing in the Bible is funny. Go ahead.
Don't you think that Jesus farted once?
Okay, you opened the door to actually expounding on that, and so I'm going to bring it. All you need to do is Elijah and the prophets of Baal, when he starts shouting out, "Yell louder, your God might be on the toilet."
He's taking a dump.
Your God is relieving himself. Yell louder so he'll realize you're looking for him. Like
half the time that Jesus responds to the Pharisees, I hear it sarcastically. Like, "Oh, good for you guys. Well done." Anyway, whatever this, you know, makeshift Iron Maiden is called, she has a line to Broom, and she says, "Your God gives you what? Mm-hmm. Unanswered prayers and false hope, a better life after death. I have that too."
That's to the priest, not
and
Broom,
that line,
but yes.
that's to the priest.
I'm going to say it again because I want to be fancy on this podcast. No, I'm not. I don't care. The line is sort of this ultimate flex of darkness. Mm-hmm. You know, the enemy is mocking the very core of faith, and she's claiming that she can give the same thing that God does
and more.
But if you listen closely, it's all smoke and mirrors. So very similar to what Mike was saying. she doesn't actually create, she only counterfeits. She promises youth, she promises vitality, she promises eternal life, but every time she comes back, she decays and she crumbles and she needs more blood. It's this treadmill of corruption, so to speak. It's not a gift. And that brought to mind John 10:10, where Jesus says, the thief only comes to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they might have life and have it to the full. And that, to me, that's the contrast right there, that the enemy offers the illusion of hope, but it drains you dry. It steals from you. It kills you slowly. It leaves you more broken than when you started. But Jesus, on the other hand, doesn't just promise a better afterlife. He offers you abundant life now. And that's really where I saw the stark difference of like, yeah, the enemy does sort of offer these counterfeit versions of what Jesus does, but they don't actually fulfill.
And you can also build on that almost in a very, understanding of the way Jesus dealt with the Pharisees and everything like that. It's the idea that if you're only doing the religious thing, if you're only following God for what God offers you, it will be empty, because I hate to tell you, a lot of the things that, we're given, the blessings, they're counterfeits, but the enemy has that very same offer for you.
Yeah.
It's counterfeit. It's less. It is insufficient, but that doesn't change the fact that on its surface, there is an equivalency of what can be offered. And if you are only looking to God for what you gain from that faith, it will be disappointing. And I think that plays out in the priest. The priest wants to have the religious authority. The priest wants to have the I'm the protector of this village, and no darkness will come in here because of what I do. And Elizabeth laughs at him for it. It's that idea that you can't do it just for what God offers you and what God gives you, but just the idea that God is. God is worthy of this, even if there is no offer of blessing, even if there is no offer of this abundant life. God is, and therefore God needs to be appreciated, and your faith needs to be on him.
Go ahead, Pastor Mike. Just drop the mic. That was great. We got to rate this film. I'll go first. I gave it an Affleck. It's okay. It's true to the character. I thought the story was great. It's a bit kidified. The animation's a little blocky. The limited gore is kind of an issue for me. But at the same time, I wish they could have pumped out more of these. Because if it was budget-friendly and easy to do, I would have loved a series of this.
I was just about to say, if this was a series instead of a couple movies.
Yeah, this would have been great. And for that, I can't say it's great. It's not bad, though. It is who it is. It's a different version of this character, but it's true to who it is. And so I gave it an Affleck. It's okay.
I actually did the same thing. I did the same thing. I gave it an Affleck.
What the Hecate?
You reused that now like 4 times. It's not no.
And you're still giving me the reaction.
But the audience will not, because the audience will hate you forever. I want lots of comments admonishing Joey.
You know I'm going to use this in the title.
Yeah, I mean, look, I enjoyed it, and I would watch it again, but, especially compared to other Hellboy media that is out there, it's, fun, but not, the best thing that they could have done. But I still think it's better than the other animated movie, personally.
There you go.
So,
Michael?
Are we going to have a 3 Affleck review? I think we might.
Oh,
a hat trick.
boy.
It's never happened in the history of the show.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed with this movie. I'm not upset by it. It was a fun time.
Yep.
But at the same point, there were so many moments where I'm just like, if this was a series or if this was a longer movie, it could have been something really special.
Yes.
But because it is what it is, and neither of those things, it's fine.
Yeah.
I have no complaints about the cast. I have no complaints. Like I said a number of times here, it rides the Hellboy line very well of being silly while not cheapening the seriousness. It does that. It's good. The hour runtime does it a huge disservice and knocks it down to fine.
Yeah.
There it is.
Those are all fair.
The Trinity, right there. I love it. But audience, what did you think? Drop us a comment on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can't drop comments on Spotify, can you?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I feel old. I didn't know what Bluey was. So yeah, guys, drop us a comment on Spotify.
If you can, and if you can, be the first.
Do it. Find a way. Find a way.
Be the first. Be the first. You know what? That's your call to action, dear listener.
Right to Mr. Spotify.
That's right, at P.O. Box.
Joe Spotify
let
himself.
me see if I can remember this.
Joe Spotify.
Vancouver, BC, B6B
4G3.
Do you know what that was?
Yeah. Focus on the family.
You know what it is.
I knew what that was. That was horrible.
Wow.
Right to us at Adventures in Odyssey.
Coming out
And
out of the clutch.
And one of these days, I'm going to introduce y'all, if you haven't experienced it, to the Adventures in Odyssey where they talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, and boy, do they demonize that one.
Yeah, they do.
Pun intended. But it's another episode for sure, but we should talk about Mr. Whitaker.
Yeah,
and how he's God, but he's Jesus, but he can do no wrong. But then there's an episode where there's like spiritual warfare and he gets taken out.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty graphic.
The cosmology is not exactly all there. That's part of the reason why Tolkien hated allegory.
Yep. Wit's End is heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a hot take. Everybody's actually dead, and this is the afterlife. Rodney Rathbone is a wandering soul.
What was the name of his machine, his magic machine?
The Imagination Station.
The Imagination Station. Yeah.
Like I said, I can do the Newsboys. I can do Odyssey.
All right. Well, kids, thank you for joining us. Please make sure
No,
you check
actually,
out...
no, we can't. We can't. Mike, where do we find you?
I was just doing that part.
Any of the places that I exist on the internet, if you look for Inroads Ministries, and that's with 2 N's, because all roads lead to the inn in all things gaming, you'll find us. Like I said, we are also the board game library of GaryCon. You will see us at some conventions, like I go to Origins, which is in Ohio. But really, inroadsministries.com is the biggest place to find us. You find all the podcasts there, both the ones that are currently running and the ones Game Store Profits. I did one for a while there where my buddy Grant and I were doing just random story plot arcs along a certain theme. We called it the MacGuffin Factory.
Nice.
There's so many different things on there. There's me reflecting on how to do ministry in a gaming space. Which is mostly just the many reasons why I don't work at a church. But yeah, if you look for Inroads Ministries, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're doing the podcasts, and that's where you find us.
We will link it all in the show notes. But Mike, thank you so much for being on this show.
And if you go to older episodes of Game Store Profits, you will find both Joey and I as guest hosts on in some of the early years of Game Store Profits.
And Joey shows up on a Barden Bible too.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I have no problem promoting my friends, and so both of y'all were on there, yes.
It's one of the reasons we wanted you on here, because we love what you do, and we love you, and thank you so much for being on this show.
Absolutely a blessing. Happy to be here.
It will not be the last time.
Chris, get us out of here.
All right, kids. Well, as always, please remember, there are things that go bump in the night, and we are the ones that are not going to get involved. See you later.
Well, the last time we did this, there were not nearly as many children.
It's true.
I think there was one and you had it.
And I had it.
Yeah.
And this was not our friend the way that it is now.
My daily morning routine.
Yeah.
Yes, that's part of my nightly medication regimen.
That got me, Mike.
I got the antidepressant and the allergy pill and the Excedrin.
Okay. If we want to go into Old Man Screams at Cloud, I mean, mine is Advil, a blood pressure med, and a cholesterol med. We have reached full on Old Man Screams at Cloud age right here. My knees hurt when the weather changes. We're at that age.
We're on everything but roller skates at this point.